Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 24, Haunter vs. Kadabra. Ash and the gang have returned to Saffron City with Haunter, with Ash confidently stating he would win with Haunter on his side. But Brock still doubts that Haunter is truly trustworthy, being scared of it. Misty, however, has grown out of her fear of Haunter, now finding it cute. That is, until it decides to lick her and paralyze her as a result. Haunter feels bad for this, not meaning to harm Misty, so he cries apologetically when Ash gets mad at him for doing so. Not wanting Haunter to go away, thus ruining Ash's chance of beating Sabrina, Ash apologizes to the Haunter for yelling at it, reminding Haunter of their goal to beat Sabrina. The next day, they then return to the Saffron Gym, and Ash recalls the previous match and how much of a beating Pikachu took. He's determined to not let that happen again. Ready to enter the gym, despite still being afraid of Sabrina's psychic powers. Misty and Brock were afraid too, along with Pikachu, but they couldn't get over their fear this time, simply cheering for Ash on the sidelines, telling him to go in by himself. Ash gets disappointed at this, obviously wanting support. But Brock and Misty remain adamant, reminding Ash of when they were turned into dolls in a fucking dollhouse. They obviously didn't want that to happen again, and I don't blame them. You'd think Ash would share this sentiment too, right? Well, it's revealed that he actually does, when Haunter is revealed to be possessing Ash, making him exhibit the Haunter's confidence for him. The Haunter was extremely confident in his abilities to take out Sabrina. Ash's want to win the badge, combined with Haunter's confidence, was enough to convince everyone to enter the gym with him, including Misty and Brock, and Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Ash instantly encounters Sabrina again, informing her of his want to have a rematch, with Sabrina accepting, but once again adding the condition that Ash had to play with her if he lost. Sabrina then sends out her Kadabra, as Ash plans to send out his Haunter, but Haunter has disappeared, not being anywhere inside the gym. Ash immediately panics, looking around for it in an extremely desperate state. Misty and Brock watch Ash lose his mind, with Brock reiterating his statement of how Haunter wasn't trustworthy, with Misty even agreeing at this point. Ash is about to have a mental breakdown as Sabrina demands that he send out a Pokémon. But not only is Haunter unavailable, but so are all of his other Mons, as they're too scared to battle. Sabrina then gets extremely angry when Ash is unable to send out a Pokémon, leading Ash to cowardly run away, not wanting to be turned into dolls. With Ash initially being the most confident one, you can bet that his friends were very quick to follow him with no question. Ash and the gang obviously need lessons from Sonic though, as they were not fast enough, with Sabrina locking the doors to her gym and turning Misty and Brock back into dolls, much like they were worried about. Fortunately for Ash though, he manages to escape being turned into a doll. Even though he really should have been the one to be turned into a doll, because he was the one who was so confident, right? At least Misty and Brock were cautious. To further prove that he should have been turned into a doll, the only reason he didn't was because of a stupid-ass Deus Ex Machina, being the return of the man from last episode, who uses his own psychic powers to teleport himself, Ash, and all of his Pokemon to safety. But not before Sabrina is somehow able to recognize the man, which she states to Brock and Misty as she picks them up and puts them in her dollhouse. Man, I feel bad for them. They're really in that eternal hell. Meanwhile, the man's teleportation takes them to a random spot in Saffron City, and Ash's Pokemon decide to relax and play to distract themselves from how scared they were inside the gym. Ash complains about how twisted and rude Sabrina was, with the old man assuring him, somehow, that he knew that Sabrina wasn't always that rude. Somehow knowing Sabrina's entire backstory, he gives immense exposition, explaining it all. Essentially, Sabrina was gifted with psychic powers from an extremely young age, and was essentially forced by her parents to continue practicing it and becoming better and better at using them, to the point where she could do nothing else, including make friends, which she always wanted to do. This turned her so bitter that she turned on her parents, destroying their house, and split into two personalities, one being the angry bitch that would use her psychic powers for these evil purposes, and the other being the little girl that just wanted friends, which is symbolized by the doll that she constantly carries with her. When Ash obviously questions how the man knows all this, the man simply pulls out a picture, being the same one that was in Sabrina's dollhouse that they were transported into. Despite the man looking eerily like the dad in the picture, Ash doesn't come to the conclusion that he's Sabrina's dad. No. Ash comes to the conclusion that this guy was merely the family photographer, and that's how he owned the picture. The man is obviously shocked at Ash's lack of awareness, but decides to not reveal himself when Ash just changes the subject to the fact that Sabrina turned Brock and Misty into dolls, asking if the man could use his psychic powers to turn Brock and Misty back to normal. The man denies this though, claiming that only Sabrina could reverse her own actions, the only way to do so being defeating her in her gym. Ash comments that there's no way he's going to be able to defeat her, especially due to now not having a ghost Pokemon due to Haunter going missing. The man encourages Ash to go find Haunter, reiterating how ghost Pokemon were Sabrina's psychic type's primary weakness. leading Ash to decide to go find Haunter, traveling around the city with Pikachu, looking desperately. Meanwhile, Team Rocket, as usual, are spying on Ash, this time as window washers. They plan to steal Pikachu yet again, this time by using a fishnet. Now, where James got this fishnet, I have no clue. But Meowth mentions how much of an immense downgrade it is from their usual tools, and I agree. You're going from using fucking helicopters and tanks and shit to using a net, really? James then starts blabbering about the fishing net, talking about Christopher Columbus, and Jesse mentions the light bulb and it being invented by the wrong person. Like, what was with all these weird references, man? A random egg drops on Team Rocket from the middle of nowhere. Like, Meowth's face right here is my reaction to all this. Seemingly as a punishment for all this weird shit, Haunter shows up and scares the shit out of Team Rocket, causing them to fall out of their cart. Thankfully for Team Rocket, Jessie is able to grab onto the cart before they fall to their death, but she's struggling to hold everyone up, as James and Meowth have grabbed her by the legs, so now she has to hold their weight. To make matters worse, Haunter decides to troll Jessie a little bit more, making faces to try and make her laugh. Jessie tries her absolute hardest not to laugh, as if she did, then she would likely let go of the cart, right? But she eventually fails and lets go, dropping everyone down to the ground into a cement pothole. Ash notices Team Rocket fall as he walks by right as they land, and realizes that they must have been planning to steal Pikachu. Haunter then appears, implying that it was the one to stop Team Rocket, leading Ash to thank it. I'd like to thank the Haunter too. I mean, it's because of him we only had to deal with a few minutes of Team Rocket this episode. Ash then segues into asking Haunter to come back with him and fight Sabrina, with Haunter explaining the reason why it left before, not being that it didn't want to face Sabrina, but because it just didn't want to battle, claiming it had another way to defeat her. Meanwhile, Misty and Brock, still dolls trapped in Sabrina's dollhouse, question sadly if they're going to be dolls for the rest of their existence. They then meet Sabrina's mother, who has also been turned into a doll, likely after the whole incident with the destruction of their house. Sabrina's mother then reveals that she feels bad for how they essentially forced their daughter to practice all of these psychic powers, claiming that she never would have turned into who she is now if it wasn't for them, claiming that her daughter was good deep down. As if on cue, Sabrina shows up, heavily emphasizing that she wasn't good deep down, as she reminds Brock and Misty that she will not turn them back into humans, even after they request multiple times, with Misty even suggesting a battle between them, with Misty adding that if she won the battle, then Sabrina would have to turn them back to normal. But how would that even work? Like, how could Misty battle as a doll? Sabrina obviously declines this proposition, though, stating that if she turned Brock and Misty back to normal, then she would be back to having no friends, which was her deepest, darkest fear. Sabrina then picks Brock and Misty out of the dollhouse and brings them to watch her battle against Ash, who has shown up, asking for a rematch. Sabrina accepts, but not before taunting Ash that he'll never be able to win. Ash, fed up with Sabrina's rude remarks, sends out Haunter, but Haunter disappears before he can go on the battlefield yet again, letting Ash down. Thankfully for Ash this time, though, not all his Pokemon are letting him down, as Pikachu decides to step in, wanting to get revenge on Kadabra for last time. Ash isn't sure that Pikachu will be successful, reminded of what the man said about Ash needing a ghost Pokemon to win, but Ash, not having any other option, lets Pikachu try his best. Pikachu first starts off by using a simple Thunder Shock, but Kadabra is able to swiftly teleport away and use Psybeam, hitting Pikachu, massively confusing it, and practically almost knocking it out in one hit. Pikachu, the trooper that he is though, gets back up and uses Thunderbolt, which actually manages to hit Kadabra, but Kadabra does one of the most annoying things a psychic type can do, which is spam recover, meaning that Pikachu's attack was now rendered entirely useless. This leads Sabrina to get overconfident, stating once again how Ash will never fucking win, but then Haunter shows up, finally being useful, ready to implement its own strategy of making Sabrina laugh, as opposed to battling, now that Ash wasn't forcing it to battle. Sabrina and her doll then angrily protest that Ash was cheating by using both Pikachu and Haunter at once, but then, the man, who is actually Sabrina's father, comes in and informs Sabrina that since technically Ash didn't own Haunter in a Pokeball, Haunter was acting on its own, not of Ash's will. Also adding that since Haunter wasn't technically battling, it wasn't against the rules. Haunter proceeds with its plan, making funny faces and even making its own face disappear, and setting off a bomb in an attempt to make Sabrina laugh. Now, I don't know if this implies that Sabrina fucking loves bombs or something, but it does in fact make Sabrina laugh. It isn't just a little chuckle either, it's like a full-blown laugh. This makes the man very happy that his daughter has finally laughed, as he claims that he has never seen his daughter laugh before, as she's always been super miserable, having to be forced to do all her psychic abilities, not having any time to relax and have fun. Ash then questions how the man knew of Sabrina's whole childhood, if he was just the photographer, leading the man to fall over in disbelief and anger on how dense Ash was. He gets even angrier, though, when Ash suggests that he may not even be the photographer, but rather a stalker of some sort, and that's how he acquired the picture.
The man eventually calms down, though, realizing that it didn't matter if Ash was dense. At the end of the day, him and his haunter had helped restore his daughter back to a loving, regular girl instead of a cold-hearted bitch. Ash then bitterly complains that that wasn't his end goal, stating his goal was simply to beat Sabrina and get her badge. But the man says that Ash did beat Sabrina, as now Kadabra was lying on the floor, unable to battle, laughing its ass off, because it was telepathically linked with Sabrina. So since Sabrina was laughing, it was laughing. Ash is in disbelief at the fact that he won another badge through some weird unorthodox means instead of a regular battle. But hey, at least at the end of the day, he has another badge, right? And to make things even better for Ash, Brock and Misty have now returned to normal, as due to Sabrina laughing, her evil side was completely extinguished, which also got rid of all of its effects. This meant that Sabrina's mother was also restored to normal, back from her doll form. The episode then ends with Haunter deciding to leave Ash and stay with Sabrina, who he now really appreciated, having a new playmate just like he originally wanted, with Ghastly and Gengar. And now Sabrina had a friend. They were truly the perfect match for each other. Ash and the gang then say goodbye to everyone as Ash holds his new badge, the Marsh badge. He is happy that he obviously has another badge, but he does wish that he won it legitimately, and he assumes Brock and Misty would make fun of him for it, like they did with their badges. But they actually stand up for him this time, defending that since Sabrina turned them into dolls and was a bitch the whole time, Ash more than deserved this badge just for saving her. Ash gladly accepts the praise, using it as motivation to run as fast as he can to his next destination of Celadon City, with Brock and Misty trailing behind him. As for Team Rocket, they're still stuck in that pothole that they fell into, and it's now being filled with cement, which pisses them off, obviously, but they do manage to escape, so they'll be back in the next episode, I'm sure. Fucking bastards.